As requested, I'm going to be doing another recreation of one of Nikola's animations. This time it is going to be the popular Zodiac killer animation that has gained a lot of interest. It hasn't been covered anywhere on YouTube. Plus, I've included all the assets in the description below, making it easy for you to follow. So if you want to learn how to do it, make sure to stay until the end. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is get on Google and search for the Zodiac killer alphabet. And here we're going to see a bunch of examples of Zodiac's writings and letters. This specific letter is actually the last one that the authorities have decrypted. And I think this is the one that Nikola exactly used in his video. So we're going to take that one. We're going to right click and save image as. You can now save it to a folder on your PC or Mac. Click save. And once we're inside After Effects, this is what we're going to be dealing with. So we're going to have the Zodiac alphabet right here that we just downloaded. Also, we're going to be animating the Zodiac sign. And then afterwards, we're going to take care of the background. And right after that, we're going to finish it up with some clean camera movements. So let's hide this layer for now. And let's import our Zodiac killer set in, put it inside our timeline. And it is a bit too big, so we're going to scale it down. And now we want to mask out this alphabet only. So make sure the picture is selected. Go up here to the rectangle tool and draw a shape around the alphabet. And now we just have to get rid of this white background. To do it, I'm going to use the effect called extract, and I'm going to drag the white part to the left. Now we can see the background has disappeared, but also the letters are messed up. So we're going to use the effect called fill. Click on the color here and change it to white. And now you can play around with this extract slider until you think it looks the best. Now I'm going to position it approximately around here. We can call this Zodiac alphabet for a clearer understanding of what it is. And now we're going to drag our image again into the timeline. We're going to scale it down a bit again. I'm going to use the rectangle tool again as a mask and mask out this Zodiac killer shape. Now I'm going to go to the effect controls of this previous layer, and I'm going to copy the extract and fill option with Control C and paste it over to our second layer, and that's going to remove the background. I place it approximately here, and now we can see these little dots around that we don't want. It's not really that necessary to remove them. What you can do is to create other masks around them like this and make sure they're set to subtract, and that's how you remove those dots. You got to rename this to Zodiac sign. Right now I want to start with animating the circle with the cross inside, or the infamous Zodiac killer sign. The way I'm going to do that is to draw a shape that is very similar to this sign right here. So we're going to use the pen tool for that. Make sure the fill is set to off and the stroke is on. And now we can slowly start drawing our shape. So we're going to have 3 shapes in total. One is going to be this line that I'm drawing right now. The second one is going to be this line. And the third one is going to be this circle right here. It doesn't have to be exact. We're going to scale it up later on anyway, but just make sure it's close enough. And now we're going to do another shape for this line right here. And for the third one, we're going to do a circle. And right now that we're done, we're going to make sure these lines are a bit wider so they go over the white shapes. So select all 3 of the shape layers and crank up the stroke size. Now what we're going to do is open each one of them up. Click on add here and choose trim paths. Open that up, set the end keyframe, push it a little bit out and take it back to 0. Select it easy ease, go to the graph and make a left peak. Now copy these trim paths over and paste it to the second layer. That's going to do this. And now we're going to do the same on the circle layer. Just make sure they start at the same time. And now we're going to select all of these layers, press Ctrl Shift C. That's going to pre-compose them. We can call it sign matte. That should remind us that this is a matte or a mask for our sign layer. Click OK. And now we can track matte the Zodiac sign to our sign matte. And when we play the clip, we're going to see how it animates really nice. The only thing that's messed up are these lines right here that show way too early. We could actually fix that. But if you take a look at Nikola's video, he didn't do it himself either. But now I'm not going to waste time on doing that. You can fix that on your own if you want to. Right now, I'd like to focus on animating this alphabet right here. So we can see that the only animation that this alphabet has are these letters right here that change. To do it, we're going to have to identify the places where he put those letters in. So what he did is he took this alphabet, found the places where he's going to switch up the letters, he masked them out, and then used a font that is very similar to the Zodiac font, blended them in, and then animated them. And now we're going to do exactly that. We just first have to identify where the letters were. All right, they were somewhere around here. Make sure to select the Zodiac alphabet, click on the rectangle tool, and mask these out. Now nothing has happened, but if you go down here and choose subtract over add, you're gonna see that these letters have now disappeared. And now we're gonna repeat the same thing on the other location. Make sure mask 3 is set to subtract as well. And now we're gonna have to find a font that matches this Zodiac font so that we can put the letters in, blend it in very well, and then animate those letters later on. So I went to Google and wrote Zodiac killer fonts, and I found this one that looks very similar. So I'm quickly quickly gonna download that and see how it looks like. All right, we're back inside the program, and I decided that I'm gonna go with the font that I just downloaded. So I'm gonna click on this type tool and type the rescue. I'm gonna select it and change the font to the Zodiac one. And I'm just simply gonna scale it down a little, perhaps play around with the size here. Also play around with the gap of the letters right here. And I'm gonna keep playing with that until I think it blends in nicely. It can never get too perfect, but I think it looks good enough. And I'm gonna copy this text layer and drag it down here. And I'm gonna write times up. And now once we've set them up, we can now animate them. To do that, let's click on the first text layer, click on animate here and choose character offset. Now we're gonna see this character offset slider right here. And as we move through it, you can see that it randomizes the letters. So we can find something that we like. I'm gonna set a keyframe for it, push it to the beginning, and then change it back to 0. Select them in easy ease. And the animation is a bit too long, so I'm gonna push the second keyframe closer to the first one. I'm also gonna play with the graph a little, and this is how it looks like in the end. Now we are just gonna have to repeat the same thing for the other text layer. And then right after animating both of them, we can now change their color. We are gonna do it by adding the fill effect to both of these text layers. Choose the color right here. You can copy this hash code to paste it on the other one. Press OK. And now we can keyframe the color, set a keyframe for the color, go back and set it back to white. Now it's gonna look like this. So as the animation starts to progress, the text changes the color from white to red. And now we can just copy these keyframes over and paste them to the other text layer. And finally, at the very end of animating the Zodiac alphabet, we're gonna create that the rest of the shape gets a bit darker, so these two texts can pop out a little bit more. We're gonna do it very easily. Click on the Zodiac alphabet, press T for opacity, set a keyframe, go a bit further, and dial the opacity down to about 50%. Okay, now that we're done animating the sign and the alphabet, let's focus on managing the background. And I took a little bit of time to find all the assets that we needed. You're of course gonna have them down in the description, so let me import them in really quick, and then I'm gonna drag them straight down to the timeline. By the way, I managed to find the same overlay that Nikola was using as well, so props to Victeezy for supplying us with that. I'm just quickly gonna hide the overlay and the ink transition, and first I want to focus on the background itself. So we're gonna right click, go to transform, and then fit to comp. And now I'm gonna search for the tint effect, and I'm gonna map the white color to something more grayish. Then I'm gonna make sure I have the background selected. I'll go up here to this ellipse tool, double click on it. That's gonna create a mask around it. And now I'm gonna click F for feather and set it to around 1.5k pixels. And that is gonna create this very subtle background with the borders being very feathered. So it blends in really nice with this black outline color. Now we can also double click on the mask and adjust it a little. Right after that, I'm gonna enable the overlay, right click, transform, fit to comp. You don't have to do this, but I'm gonna apply the effect called extract. If I scale it down a little, you're gonna see this background color behind it. And if I just pull this slider off to the right a bit, you're gonna see how the background disappears. Again, that's not completely necessary, but that's just the way I wanna do it. And I'm also going to track matte this overlay to the texture background. Now make sure we can see the background again. That way it's gonna blend in a lot nicer. And the last thing left to do before animating everything with the camera is to enable this ink overlay. We can of course right click on it, transform, and then fit the comp. I'm just gonna put it on top so I can see it better. You can see how it opens up, and I'm gonna search for the linear color key effect and apply to the ink overlay. Now select this eyedropper tool and select the white color. You can match the tolerance over here. Something like this is gonna work fine for me. You can also play with the softness values. I'm just quickly gonna position it up here and also scale it up a little. So now when the video plays, it's gonna scale up like this. And also I'm gonna apply the tint effect to it, and I'm gonna map the white color to black. Click OK. And now I'm gonna position the overlay behind the Zodiac alphabet. And after doing all of this, now we're completely ready to start animating the camera. First things first, let's right click on the timeline and click new camera. We can leave it at a one node camera and a custom preset and click OK. Click OK here. And of course, make sure to enable 3D for all of the layers so that the camera can actually work. Now click on the camera and press P for position, set a keyframe, go a bit further and zoom it in. We're gonna select them, press F9 to easy ease them. If you don't have the shortcut, you can right click on the keyframes, go to keyframe assistant, and then click easy ease here. Right now, we're gonna go to the graph editor here, select it, take this right point to the left, and also take the left point all the way to the left. That's gonna create this motion. Now snap the playhead with shift to this last keyframe, press Command Shift D on your keyboard or Control Shift D if you're using Windows, and that is gonna separate this camera layer into two cameras. Now we can open the second camera up and click on reset. We can delete the first keyframes, and now since this camera is now a two-node camera because it has this point of interest, if we decide to move its position, it's gonna orbit around the image, and we can really make a good movement with that. So we're gonna have to use null objects to control the camera. It might get a bit confusing, but what we're actually doing here is that we're using the cameras for the movements, but we're using the null objects to control the movement. So make sure to right click on the screen, click on new null object. We can make it shorter like this so everything is nicely organized. Make sure the null is 3D and make sure to parent the previous camera to the null. That way we can now use the null to control the camera movement. So set a keyframe on the null, zoom it in somewhere around here. Now go a bit further and change the position of the null. Select the keyframes, easy ease. Again, select the graph and make the same left peak like this. And that way we're gonna get this movement. And now we can do the same thing as before. So select the second camera and the null, hit Ctrl-Shift-D, and that's gonna cut these layers again. Press U on this new null, delete the keyframes. Now make sure to parent the third camera to the first null here. We can rename this to null 2. Now set a keyframe for that null, find a new position, perhaps even zoom in a little, and now we can go further and take the camera down. Select them again, easy ease. Repeat the same graph as before. That's gonna create this movement. And now again, select these two, Ctrl-Shift-D. We're gonna see that the camera is already parented to this null. Press P for position again, delete the previous keyframes, set a keyframe for position. And now we can zoom the animation out, something like this. And now go further again and zoom it out even more. Select them again, easy ease, and repeat the same process with the graph. Of course, you can adjust the graphs to your liking. This is just the way I wanna do it and I think looks best, but you can try it out yourself and see what looks best for you. And at the end, when we're done with everything, we can now stylize it a little. For example, I'm gonna add deep glow to the alphabet, crank the exposure down a little, also the radius too. Now I'm gonna copy the deep glow to the other text layers. I'm also gonna copy it over to the Zodiac sign, and I'll make sure to reduce the radius. And also at the end, we could spice it up with some more effects. So I'm gonna add an adjustment layer, make sure it's above everything else. I'm gonna add posterize time to it, set the frame rate to about 14 to 16. And if you want, you can also add the noise effect to it. I always uncheck this color noise and set it to around 10%. And with some final adjustments, your scene should look something like this. As promised, all the assets I used are linked down in the description. Let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover next. Subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next one.